Okay, guys, we're on chapter 21. Today, we're going to do part 1 on trade and part 2 on the plague. And then next time, we'll do part 3 and part 4. So what we're going to look at is how y'all have done this map, and now we're moving into the Western Hemisphere, and how this cross-cultural interaction will have an impact between the Western and Eastern Hemisphere. So the first thing is we're going to look at long-distance trade. What we're going to see, just like we saw with the Silk Road, land routes and sea routes are going to basically transcend our whole global economy, and it's going to connect every corner of the Eastern Hemisphere. We're going to see luxury goods are going to travel overland through the Silk Roads, and bulkier commodities are going to go through the sea lanes in the Indian Ocean, and we're going to see through the Mediterranean. And we're eventually going to see that these commodities is going to increase, and trading cities and ports are going to grow rapidly, these merchant towns. And we're going to see many people are going to be attracted to long distance trade, such as buyers because the profits they can make, sellers, brokers, and banks. We're going to see bankers. They're going to create all these new types of loans. They're going to create the checking system, paper money to help people deal with long distance travel. We're going to see that the Mongols, remember, they maintained the good order of the Silk Road, and by creating the stability, we're going to see that long distance trade will flourish. We're going to see many governments will resist the temptation to levy taxes, but some do have some custom fees, such as these cities will levy taxes or custom fees. One of our first travelers is Marco Polo. His father and his uncle were actually people to visit China, and we're going to see that they will visit China and they will become accustomed to Kublai Khan, which we know that he is related to Genghis Khan, and they will come in and foster relations with the Yuan dynasty. And we see on his way back to Venice, he's going to be in prison. And while he's in prison, he's going to write all of his stories. And as he writes these stories, Marco Polo, he's going to deeply influence European readers to move west. In his documentaries, he's going to talk about the textiles, the spices, the gems, and other goods from Asia. And in his books, he's going to influence other merchants to try to go east to Asia. And we know that all of these routes have been, basically the land routes have been taken over by the Mongols and the Turks. And so people out in Western Europe really face high prices from these people. So Marco Polo's stories really influence Western Europeans to go out and travel to Asia. Infant 2 is going to be another traveler that is educated in Islamic law. He's going to travel various areas in India, the Maldives, and Mali. And he is going to serve as a judge and an advisor to these people. We see he offers advice about government, how women should be dressed, the idea of the patriarchy, and just proper relations. And we see that a lot of his guidance is going to follow what we've seen in Islam. And we've seen this before, that one of the biggest faiths that expands because of the Silk Road is Islam. And we're going to see that Sufi Islam will actually go into many other areas that we haven't seen it, such as India, Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa. And we're going to see that this devotion to Allah and not following the strict understanding of Islam is going to allow for Islam to expand. Also through trade, Christianity will spread. And we're going to see that Christianity will actually go into southern India and to Asian people, but most of the Asian people don't convert to Christianity. We see more they convert to Buddhism and Hinduism. And so we see that Muslim merchants are going to be the main people who are involved on these sea routes and also on the land routes. And they're going to have a great impact on introducing new foods such as rice, such as spices to Africa. And we're going to see by this time they also bring in cotton. Another big thing that is an influence by our trade is sugarcane. Sugarcane is something that will lead to the islands in the Mediterranean being organized as sugar plantations. And we're going to see that this will lead to a dependency on coerced labor. And so this is when people will start going into Africa and getting trading items with manufactured items with African tribes in exchange for slave labor to work on the sugar plantations. Other cultural exchanges that happen because of trade is gunpowder. We know that this was developed by the Chinese. And we're going to see the invention of gunpowder will eventually be used as a weapon in military conflict. And we're going to see that something that was in the East will eventually get to Western Europe and will lead to a dramatic impact in military invasions and taking over of nation states, which we'll get to later. We're going to see that the sea lane routes and our land routes will have an intense diffusion of ideas. We're going to see people's diets will increase, population will increase, cotton will lead to economic development. Cotton is actually more comfortable than wool. We'll see travel become safer, and we know a lot of that stemmed from the Mongols. And we're going to see gunpowder will change how war is done. So the next thing we need to talk about is the plague. We've seen the bubonic plague before, but we're going to see it has other names such as the Black Death or the Black Plague. And we know it began in China, and we also know that the Mongols were the main people who spread this disease because they controlled the trade routes. Because of the Mongols, we're going to see areas that they went into, populations will decline dramatically. And we're going to see that this is going to affect Western Europe, Southwest Asia, and Northern Africa. We're going to see that this will lead to severe labor shortages. And we're going to see that our workers will begin to demand for better wages because there's not enough workers. And because of the plague, employers will respond by freezing wages and forbidding workers to leave their homes. And this will lead to massive peasant rebellions. Okay, so I'm done with that. I'm going to attach a video on the plague for y'all. What y'all need to do today is finish up your study guide. And then I think you are, let me look at the calendar. Yeah, finish up the plague with the plague song, and then finish up your study guide 45 through 70. Okay, we have some more stuff to do next time with it on part 3 and part 4.